The survey team explored nearly all offshore islands and coastal fjords along the southern coast of the Kenai Peninsula, noting the abundance and distribution of marine birds and mammals. Forests of spruce hemlock interspersed with grass-covered headlands, cliffs, and deep fjords with retreating glaciers radiating from the Harding ice field predominate. Massive Kenai Mountains, over 6,000 feet at the eastern end, rise abruptly along the coast. Sea stacks, jutting rocks, and forested islands dot the coastline. Most of the nesting seabirds in this stretch to Windy Bay were on offshore islets, including several common eider nests. Stunning scenery in the bays and fjords of Kachemak Bay State Wilderness Park at Port Dick are part of this coast's hidden treasures. Pearl Island was inhabited at the time of the survey. Chugach Island is extremely rugged and rises to 1,440 feet. Chugach Islands were mostly selected by local native corporations from Seldovia, Nanwalek, and Port Graham. With introduced foxes on these islands, there was not much seabird activity, although there was excellent harbor seal habitat. More seals and sea otters were seen in the Chugach Islands than elsewhere on the survey. Old ruins from the fox farming era before World War II remain on Elizabeth Island. West Arm, including Surprise Bay and Beauty Bay, is a classic fjord. Wide variety of birds were found here: surf scoters, pigeon guillemots, common loons, and bald eagles. Opportunities abound for wildlife photography with a fabulous mountain backdrop, waterfalls, and a turquoise shoreline. Rugged canyons, crashing waterfalls, sharp peaks all await an explorer visiting the hidden bays. East Arm, extending about 20 miles into the Kenai Peninsula, is the longest fjord on the Kenai coast. The team used a 16-foot inflatable to explore uncharted waters. McCarty Glacier is rapidly receding at the head of East Arm. Here, striations on recently bared rock are testament to the glacial forces forming the terrain. Most common species were harlequin ducks, black oyster catchers, and mew gulls. Glaucous-winged gulls and Arctic terns were nesting on one of the few islands. The team counted nearly 500 harbor seals. The Pie Islands, Outer, Rabbit, and Ragged Islands are now part of the Alaska Maritime National Wildlife Refuge. 1,300-foot high Outer Island at 755 acres is the smallest. Most of the nesting seabirds were found here, including 4,600 tufted puffins and an abundance of fork-tailed storm petrels. Kitlitz's murrelet egg found on a grass-covered ledge was the 5th nest site ever discovered. Some 2,000 stellar sea lions were counted on Outer Island. For 4 days, Ed Bailey and Nina Faust were left on Outer Island to do a reconnaissance on land. We camped on a tiny rocky beach at the base of an old moss-covered wooden ladder and trail leading to a World War II aircraft warning service camp built in 1942 as part of the U.S. Army Signal Corps. It was built to house 150 men. We followed the old Army trail above precipitous cliffs for 5 hours to the camp on the island's southern point. Unfortunately, the surviving buildings were obscured under the forest canopy and hidden by chest-high salmonberry bushes. We could not get usable photographs of the remaining Quonset hut, lookout shelter, large bunkhouse, dining hall, and other work area buildings under the trees. Like the building in this photo, all were slowly collapsing as the wood rots away. Northwest Lagoon, with rugged peaks and cliffs all around, is a showcase fjord as this part of the coast sits parallel to the Harding ice field. Rapidly retreating glaciers were calving huge ice falls on warm days. Nesting Arctic terns and mew gulls were common. The largest cormorant colony was found on Granite Island just outside of Harris Bay. The Chiswell Islands host an abundance of diverse wildlife. Lone Rock has northern fulmars, glaucous-winged gulls, common murres, and horned puffins. Chiswell Island had more than 100 stellar sea lions loafing on its rocks. Landing on Chiswell Island, the crew found nesting fork-tailed storm petrels. Beehive Island swarmed with puffins, roughly 10,000 puffins on one stack and another estimated 6,000 on Beehive. Camping on Matushka Island was difficult because it was all slanting rock, but the effort yielded a rhinoceros auklet and massive fork-tailed storm petrel colonies. The rugged, remote, and spectacular beautiful Kenai Peninsula coast offers an exceptional Alaskan experience to those who travel to this outer shoreline. The bird and marine mammal life of South Central Alaska's remote fjordlands and offshore islands were certainly worthy of protection as part of the Alaska Maritime National Wildlife Refuge and the Kenai Fjords National Monument, which is now a national park.